What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drive Edition, and today we're going to get into an interesting conversation. Let me get into a little bit more specifics first. So I spec'd out a C8 Z06 I would like to own, and what I come across is with my bill, and I've done this before, it's looking somewhere between $138,000 with maybe two options I haven't decided a must-have or I can live without, to possibly $146,000. So when we have this conversation, I talk to many people about it, especially my close friends. Depending on where they sit at in the equation or their viewpoint, we always drift into a conversation of what else can I get for that money? So today I want to jump into the top 10 supercars on the market that I can possibly buy for, let's say, under $146,000 and where I rank them. Let's go. Okay, let's get through the formalities. This is ICNV Drives Edition. My name is Sho, and this is a car enthusiast channel where we have fun, interesting conversations about different topics. And it's also an interactive community, which means that if you bring something to me through one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I typically go out and make a video about it. So help drive the content that you see come forth on this channel. But now we got past that. Let's dive into this. To start this conversation, I literally went on the internet, Google, and searched supercars, and it broke me out a list of supercars. Now, we're not going to focus on, for say, what you can buy them for brand new, but what we're going to look at is, let's just say 2015 and newer, and what supercar you can get behind the wheels of for less than $146,000 and where I rank them on the list. Now, starting out at number 10, and I know this is going to be controversial for a lot of people. When you search supercars, it pops up. So number 10 for me would be the Chevy Corvette C8. And why do I choose the Corvette C8? Well, it's 495 horsepower if you get the performance exhaust system. And right now, you can find them, we'll say on average, we're at 18,000 miles, somewhere around 75,000. So I think that's a pretty fair price. I've actually went looking prior to this video. You can even find some in the $60,000 range if you're looking at a 1LT. But for me personally, like I said, I was looking at a 3LZ Z06. So I was looking for equivalent equipment. And so when it comes to the Corvette C8, I'm looking at somewhere around 75,000 to get a car to spec the way I would like to get it. You say, is it really truly a supercar? Let's think about this. It does 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. You got a top speed of 187 miles per hour. It has a mid-engine platform, the sleek styling, crazy aerodynamics. Overall, the handling of this vehicle, I would say for an entry-level starter supercar, this is it. You can go back and forth with me all you want. When you search supercars, it comes up. And so for that reason, it's my number 10 option. Number 9, next I would say the Aston Martin Vantage V8. And let's talk about like a 2019, 2020. This car has 503 horsepower. The interior has been updated. The engine has been carried over from another car we may talk about later. It does 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. Now to me, that's not crazy shattering numbers for performance I would look for out of a supercar, but again, it has a top speed of 170 miles per hour, but because of its exotic carryover, it still falls in the category of a supercar when I search supercars on the market. So I know we all going to have different opinions on this, and I'm not really ranking this one high on my list. If you find one with about 18,000 miles on it, you can get them right around $90,000 to $95,000. So if you want something that you won't see every day, that's going to perform and fit in with the crowd, take a look at an Aston Martin Vantage. And that's why it made my list. This next car, I don't even know if it's just as controversial as the Corvette C8, but it's the BMW i8. And I laugh because many people don't consider this a supercar, but then again, a lot of people do. And I try to figure out why. It doesn't have the most groundbreaking performance, but it does have that exotic look. And I will not lie, when the doors go up, it definitely turns heads. When you search supercars, it pops up on the list. So that's why it made my list. So when we talk about the BMW i8, it pushes out 374 horsepower combined between the gas engine and the electric engine, which to me is probably the lowest horsepower output of any vehicle on the list. But yet, the 0-60 times are right around 4.4 seconds, which still makes it outperform a couple other cars on this list. So I think that's fun to know. Now, because it is a BMW and because it is a hybrid, there has been a restriction to 155 miles per hour, which I'm not a truly big fan of. But when you look at this car, overall, it has all-wheel drive. You can find one with average miles about 18 to 30,000 miles, and you can go home with this car right around 64,000. So if you look at it from that aspect and you're looking for a car that's going to turn heads, you can still get some performance, maybe run around town in. You're not looking to get crazy on the road, but you want something that's sleek, exotic, and a head turner, I would definitely tell you to gravitate towards the BMW i8. For $64,000, I think that's actually a good price for the status that you're going to get with this car. Well, we're back in familiar territory. And what do I mean by familiar territory? We have another 503 horsepower vehicle, but yet it does 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. And that is the Mercedes-AMG GT-S. Now, this version of the AMG GT series did get discontinued, and as I mentioned before, the engine and platform was carried over to the Aston Martin Vantage. But if you get a Mercedes-AMG GT-S, you get faster 0 to 60 times with the same engine. And that's because of the design of the actual car. You can find an AMG GT-S with somewhere around 27,000 miles on it, the same infotainment system, but a different design and a different packaging of the car for right around $70,000 to $77,000. So think about it. It may not be as exotic as the Aston Martin Vantage, but it's definitely in the same performance range, but better, which has a top speed of 193 miles per hour and 0 to 60 times in 3.7 seconds. I don't know how to feel about categorized as a supercar, but you see it in all the supercar functions. It comes up when you search supercars and makes the list. So for that purpose, it's on my list. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I think we're going to crack our first maybe true supercar, but to some it may still not be a supercar. But others will say the reliability is a question. And this is what I'm talking about, the McLaren 570S. And the McLaren 570S, I will not lie, is the first McLaren that caught my radar. I love the design of this car. I love the look of this car. It's so unique to me, and it truly looks like a supercar. The only issue I have with it, minus the history of McLaren's reliability being in question, is the actual infotainment system. It just doesn't feel like it's the right source for a supercar, especially one of this caliber. So when we talk about the McLaren 570S, it's truly 562 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. And it has a top speed of 204 miles per hour. If these numbers do not scream supercar, I don't know what will. So when we look at this car, let's focus more towards 2015 to let's say 2017, possibly 2018. You can get your hands on one for a good bargain. And in this price range, in today's market, you can find one right around $120,000. Now I know many people are going to sit there and say, but the reliability is a question, the service is a question, and so forth. Honestly, this list to me isn't driven by that, but it is a factor. And that's part of the reason why I rank this McLaren so low on the list. But again, if you're looking for a true supercar, something to turn heads. The doors are going to go up, and it's rare. Look at a McLaren 570S. If you can afford the maintenance on this would be a great car to get for the money. Let's take a quick break and do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 25 before 25, which is 2,500 subscribers before the year 2025. We're chasing the movement. Be part of it. Join the channel, especially if you like the content you've seen so far. We have more stuff like this coming your way, and you too can help guide the focus of the content that comes your way. So subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Now the next car on the list, I'm not going to lie to you. I went back and forth, and as much as I want to say another car, Dodge Viper, I'm going to have to say it's another controversial car. I feel like this list is pretty full of controversial cars, but you be the judge on this one. And this to me is the Porsche Turbo S, the 911 Turbo S. And I'm talking about, let's focus more along the lines of 2015 to 2017. And you do cross over between two models, but the price ranging of those cars, depending on the miles right now, is very similar. So you're looking at like a 562 horsepower, as I would say, monster coming out of inlines V6 with some turbos on it, right? That's why it's called the Turbo S. And you're talking about another vehicle that can do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. That's remarkable. You're talking about a top speed of 205 miles per hour. Now, for the time, the interior and the technology of the infotainment system, it was amazing. And it's still, I would say, suffice for today's market. But my concerns with the Porsche Turbo S is a lot of people feel like if it's not a GT3 or a GT2 RS, it's truly not a supercar. And I'll be honest with you, you can throw the GT3 in this conversation as well, because for 2014 to 2016, it's still in the same price range with similar miles. But the power, the horsepower isn't there, but the handling and the feel of the car is, because of this being specifically designed for the track. So whichever way you decide to go, I think the Porsche 911 between this range, whether it's a Turbo S or a GT3, would be a good vehicle to get your hands on. But I'm going to gravitate more to the Turbo S. This is another vehicle from what I'm seeing online. You can get a 2014 to 2017 Turbo S anywhere from $111,000 to $126,000. And for that price range, for how this car handles, and for the first vehicle on our list, it's actually probably the most reliable vehicle on this list so far. The Porsche Turbo S is coming in as my next vehicle for a bargain for the price. I won't lie to you guys, it's been fun going down this list as we start to get closer to the closing point. I just want to take a second to say thank you all for reaching out in the comments. And I know a lot of people in the Chicagoland area like to reach out to me and say we need to link up. So I want to just take a moment and say, if you're free April 13th, there's a cruise going on I think I want to participate in. I want to put the information up right now. If you want to come hang out, meet me in person, or go on a cruise, because a lot of guys reach out and say you want to do this, so let's make it happen. I'm thinking about taking this cruise on April 13th. It's pretty much a quick run to Michigan. So if you want to break your car out, put some miles on it, and have some fun, come on out, man, and join us. I'll be there, and maybe a couple other people will too. Let me know. But let's dive back into this list. So as I wind this list down, we're starting to get to the top 4 cars that I truly like. And you're going to be surprised at these next couple numbers. But for now, let's dive into the Acura NSX. This car has been controversial and has always had a soft spot in my heart. It is a supercar. I rarely hear anybody complain or argue otherwise when we talk about the Gen 2 Acura NSX. Some people didn't like the design or the concept of it with the hybrid platform, but it puts out 573 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. And when you look on the market today, you can find one with 30,000 miles and maybe even the mid 20,000 mile range for $120,000 to $123,000. I've went back and forth on this car countless times because I like the mid-engine platform. It has a unique look to the car, and honestly, it probably was the first supercar when I thought about getting my current car I was actually going back and forth with. So if you're really looking for a unique supercar that you won't see every day, I would suggest the 2017 Acura NSX, and that's why it's so high up on my list. We're getting back into that crazy part of the marketplace where you see a supercar that makes you say, is it really worth it? And to me, that car is the McLaren 650S. This car ranks so high on my list because it is, to me, the true rival to actually thinking about getting a Corvette C8 Z06. When you look at this car, hear any reviews on this car, the one thing they always say about this car is it accelerates like no other. My problem with it is it has the same infotainment system as the 570S, which I am not a fan of. Also, it has the same concerns about reliability. But what I will sit there and say to you is when you look at supercars, true supercars, cars that don't even make this list because of their price range, what you start to realize is if you actually drive the car and put miles on the car, and I would say somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000 miles a year, and some people will say that's kind of high for a supercar, but when you drive these cars in that type of capacity, you rarely see issues. So for that reason alone, I would tell you to go out and look for a 2016, 2017 McLaren 650S. You're getting 0 to 60 times of 2.9 seconds. You're talking about 641 horsepower with a top speed of 207 miles per hour. And this car can be purchased or obtained today with 26 to 30,000 miles on it, which I feel is a safe range for mileage. I'm not concerned about the car breaking because it's being driven. But if you look at a car with that type of mileage, you can get your hands on one for right around $126,000. To me, that is a steal. The acceleration on this car is crazy. Now, I know what's going to come to a lot of people's mind is the reliability. I've even seen a few listed on the internet for a little bit more money with a McLaren certified warranty. So maybe that's something you look into to ease your mind more. But overall, before any other supercar we discuss, right now to me, hands down, the best one on this list thus far. I know many of you were like, when was this car going to make the list? And let's talk about it. I'm down to the last two, and I go back and forth on number 2 and number 1 for so many reasons. But number 2 has earned a spot because, truthfully, how do you complain about a V10 engine? And that's the Audi R8 with a V10 engine. The Audi R8 with a V10 puts down 540 horsepower. It's not the most dominant horsepower on this list we've seen thus far, but it does reach a top speed of 203 miles per hour. It does 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, and truthfully, it may be categorized as the most reliable car on this list, and that says a lot. So when you're looking for a supercar with reliability, look at the Audi R8. You want to hear a V10 or a unique exhaust note? Look at the Audi R8. Like I said before, and I've heard this countless times, and I've seen it in person. There's nothing like a V10 engine and the sound of a V10 engine, and you get that with the Audi R8. So when you go shopping on the market in today's market, you can find an Audi R8 with a V10 engine with 30,000 miles, maybe a little bit or more. I wouldn't really exceed 40,000 on any car on this list, but you can get one for $126,000. So if you think about that, you can get the same engine that's in a Lamborghini Huracan, just wrapped in a different package, tuned down so you can always get it tuned up to get the performance out of it. and it's pretty much one of the most reliable supercars on the market for $126,000. That's remarkable. And that's the reason why I say the Audi R8 earned the number 2 spot. I would like to thank you guys again for sitting here for so long. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments about the list, you want to switch some cars up, tell me to take something off or add something to it, please chime right in. And I know this next car is going to take a lot of people by surprise, and it's not what you're thinking. We are going back to the McLaren series. And this last car, I would say, is the McLaren GT. And it's controversial because it's not really categorized as a supercar. If you do your research on this car, it is supposedly the most reliable McLaren they have built yet. So if you look at a 2020 McLaren GT, it shares the same engine that's utilized in the McLaren 720S. It's just tuned down a little, and it has a much more comfortable ride. It reminds me so much of the Corvette C8, especially by its look, especially by the factor it takes in comfort as well as performance. And when you go out and look at what this car has been lined up against, this car is actually competing heavily and beating a lot of Lamborghini Huracans. And there's videos out there showing it, which I don't want to give away too much. But 0 to 60, the quarter mile, you're talking about the difference of 1/10 of a second. And when you go to the half mile, the McLaren actually wins. That's crazy that a GT car, but it's still a supercar, is putting out this type of performance. So when you think about it, the McLaren GT puts out 612 horsepower. You get 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. You get a top speed of 203 miles per hour. The flair about the car is kind of gone because you don't get to see the engine, but you know you have a supercar when the doors go up and you get that type of performance. And it may be one of the most highest cars on the list, but if you find them right around 24,000 miles, and like I said about any other McLaren beforehand, you want a car that's been driven. If you find it anywhere between 18,000 to 32,000 miles, you can find them advertised in today's market for 140 grand. And like I said before, no car on this list has crossed that 146 threshold that I was really considering. And that's what makes this list very interesting. So now, as I've made this list to tell you what catches my eye, I know I'm going to get told what happened to the Nissan GT-R. And that's a whole nother topic. But if there's any other car you think I didn't recognize, or you disagree with the list, or you actually like the list, let me know in the comments below. I'll be glad to talk about it. And who knows, maybe it becomes a topic or it'll make the list in the future. But for now, ICNV Driver's Edition. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driver's Edition community. This is an interactive community. And like I stated before, if you reach out to me on any one of my social media platforms, comment in the comment section below. If your topic is interesting enough, I will make a video on it. Also, don't forget to chase your dreams, build your visions. Don't let anyone discourage you, because it is okay to be unique. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you in these streets. Peace.